Yeah.
There you go.
Excellent. All right, we're back. Moving to item number 4 on our agenda, we have some land use training. So we'll turn the time over to Lisa.
Okay, yes. As I mentioned, this video starts where the last one left off, so it's part 2 of what hat do you wear. So as I said, it's a little silly, but I do think it has some good points about the role of the Planning Commission. So the last one was really harping on the legislative administrative, which is builds on, but it also talks about the Planning Commission's role, which I think is helpful. So it's about 10 minutes, and then we can talk and have more cake.
Great.
And hey, if you're going to make the best decision, hats off.
Now, that was interesting. Yeah, informative.
So, what do we do now, Ombudsman?
Hello again, everyone. Welcome to What Hat Do You Wear, Part 2. I'm Brent Bateman, your friendly neighborhood ombudsman. If you watched Part 1 of this video, you remember that we talked about the 3 hats that local government officials wear. They have a legislative role, an administrative role, and a quasi-judicial role. The legislative role makes the law, an administrative role applies the law, and a quasi-judicial role interprets the law. Well, today in Part 2, we want to explain how to apply these concepts to the real-life work of local government. So, we've come here to City Hall to talk about planning commissions. But wait, put away that remote control. Even if you are not a planning commissioner, this information is for you. It's meant for council persons and mayors and city staff and property owners and developers. Knowing the planning commission's role and how it relates to the 3 hats will help us clarify the whole land use process for everyone. Also, let's set our quasi-judicial hat aside for now. The local quasi-judicial role belongs to your local appeal authority. That's another subject entirely, and it will require a video of its own, coming soon. Quickly, let's review. A legislative decision makes law. An administrative decision applies the law. A legislative decision could be a zoning change, an ordinance amendment, or a general plan amendment. An administrative decision applies the zoning to an application, like an application for a conditional use permit, subdivision approval, or building permit. A legislative decision can only be made by the legislative body, the city council. An administrative decision is made by whomever the city council appoints. So, knowing this, what is the Planning Commission's role? Is it legislative? Is it administrative? What exactly is the Planning Commission supposed to do? The Planning Commission's first and most important job is revealed in the name. It's called the Planning Commission. Its job is to plan, to make a plan for land use in the community that reflects what the community wants to be. Welcome to Planning Commission meeting, folks. We're all very fortunate to serve our beautiful town of St. Vernal, Utah, and we're here to make a plan. So, what's our plan? What do we want our community to be?
I think we should have a mix of uses in town. Some commercial is fine by the highway if we must, but I will only agree to farms and large lots over by Vamoose Creek.
We've got to keep the industrial areas over by Migraine Canyon.
And what should we do in Cramped Hollow? I think a golf course.
Can we zone for a KFC right next to my house? I'm hungry a lot.
Thank you. Great plan. You guys are all kooks. Utah law states that the Planning Commission's duty is to make a general plan or amendments to a general plan and recommend that plan or amendments to the City Council. That plan is the Commission's recommendation for what the community should be. That is an ongoing process and it takes work. and it takes time, and it takes care. We have other videos that talk about the general plan and how to make a good one. For now, we need to know that this duty to plan represents one part of a planning commission's legislative role. The planning commission is helping to make the law. Now, the planning commission's next role, after planning, is to make recommendations to the city council regarding zoning and land use ordinance changes. This is also a legislative role. Zoning decisions and amending the code make the law. The planning commission's job is to discuss, consider, draft, and recommend to the council land use regulations and amendments. Okay, welcome to Planning Commission meeting. Today, folks, we have an application from a Mr. Howard Widowmaker, who would like to change the zoning on his property. He would like to change the use from an ice cream shop to an outdoor shooting range.
And that will require a zoning change from the CF Commercial Fun Zone to the CD Commercial Death Zone.
Do we really want that outdoor shooting range there? That property's address is on Kids Play on the Road Avenue.
I knew we would regret naming it that. Well, let's hear what the public has to say. They always make sense.
Sound familiar? Well, that's the legislative process. Discussing, considering, and drafting land use regulations is, like planning, so important that the local legislative body, the city council or the county commission, cannot by law adopt or amend a land use regulation without first receiving a recommendation from the planning commission. And also, like planning, this is an ongoing process. It is a constant effort to refine a city code, to always make it better, clearer, easier, and compliant with the ever-changing state law. If this is done correctly, the Planning Commission should spend most of its time on these legislative roles. Refining and changing the plan and ordinances, even for the smallest towns, is a process that cannot be neglected. And finally, the Planning Commission's role may be to make administrative decisions. Administrative decisions do not change the law, but they apply it to individual land use applications, such as a conditional use application or a subdivision approval. The Planning Commission has this role only if the City Council has appointed it to them. Staff can also fill this role. It is up to the legislative body to decide what works best in your own area. Okay, folks, our last item on the agenda today. We have an application from our old friend Cletus McPoodleface, who would like a conditional use permit to open a commercial dog kennel.
That's in the middle of the RO zone, the residential oversleeper zone. Dogs are noisy. I don't like dogs. I say we deny. What does the ordinance say?
It says commercial dog kennels are allowed in that zone.
Shall we hear from the public on this one?
No way, Jose.
Then I move we approve with conditions. Like measures to keep the noise down?
And the smell.
That's it?
Really? Phew.
Nice job, you guys. This administrative role is very important, but it is not a core role of the Planning Commission. Nothing in the state code gives the administrative role to the Planning Commission. However, if that role is given in the local code, it must be done promptly and diligently and in careful accordance with the law. So, that's the Planning Commission. Their role is to 1, create and recommend changes to the general plan. 2, create and recommend changes to ordinances. And 3, handle assigned administrative matters if delegated to do so by the local code. Well, I hope this clarifies what your Planning Commission should be doing, their intended role, and how they should spend their time. In my opinion, the best run cities focus on these roles, and they tie together. A good plan leads to good ordinances, and good ordinances lead to easy and correctly made administrative decisions. And as in all aspects of life, if we focus on what matters most, everything falls into place.
Thank you.
So I know that one was kind of silly, but what I really like in this training kind of dovetails a lot with just today's agenda. So some of emphasizing that your third role is really the administrative, but the main role is the general plan and making recommendations on the zoning ordinances. So in our subdivision ordinance, we're saying we really can delegate those administrative decisions as long as we're satisfied with the legislative policies to staff, if it's something easy. And so that's why we're recommending that the concept plan be delegated to the zoning administrator, and then when we get to preliminary, we'll bring that to the planning commission. And then also the just working on the general plan, and I think also with this just sort of reiterated the planning commission's goals to do more planning this year, as opposed to the administrative decisions. So hopefully you found it helpful, and I don't know if you have questions. Some of what they were, some of the comments they were making may or may not be relevant. It also brought up some conflict of interest issues, and I'm sure they have a video on that. So,
What was the conflict of it? Did the guy have the shooting range?
Oh, he wanted the KFC right next to his house.
Oh, that's reasonable. I don't know if that's a conflict.
And then the final thing is that I think maybe we could be a little bit more creative on the names of our zones.
Oh, yeah. He's a little too
The
prescriptive.
death zone. Yeah, oh man, the fun zone. Yeah, McPoodleface was my favorite, for the record. Thank you very much. It was silly, but it had a lot of information in it. It was entertaining. So,
Good.
thank you. I think that the training that we're getting is really important. So I would encourage us to continue to do that. I think it makes us a better commission.
Oh, and I have heard back, so we've got a matrix going on who's had what training. So I've heard back from Kevin and Shaylin on some of the training options. And Kai, you've already been to one, so I think you're good.
And the one you're going to, I'm going to be out of town, but I am going to choose one of the other ones that I
Okay,
haven't been to.
great.
Thank you, Lisa. I'll look into that and let you know.
It's going to say Logan.
You could have just said my name.
Logan. All right, thank you. Moving to item number 5 on our agenda, it's the Community Development Director's report. Turn the time over to Corey
Thank you. Just real
with the
quick.
balloons.
Yeah, with the balloons. Some folks are graciously celebrating my birthday. Certainly labels me with the balloons next to me. That's interesting. But anyhow, the Community Development Director's report, now that I've been sidelined and embarrassed a little bit, but that's okay. Conceptual subdivision, it probably won't be on your next agenda. The applicant needs a little more time to complete the application, so that will likely not be on your agenda. But the Sheffield Downs PDO, this is the Pages Lane development. Just for clarity of record, we had to publish a notice of a change to Sheffield Downs. There may be rumors about, so just to clarify for the record, they are coming to amend the PDO because their design standards are attached with the PDO approval. So it has to go back through a rezoning process to amend the architectural guidelines. They're not changing the density, the type of uses. It's just simply limited to the architectural elements of it. So if anybody by chance watches the video, that may clear that up. And then the next item is, you want me to jump to that?
Yep, go for it.
The Bears Cove subdivision, which was on your last meeting, did go to the council, and the council approved the subdivision, so.
I am going to recommend for future upcoming agendas, just put Community Development Director's report and City Council report, just mush them together.
Okay,
Do a slash and then you can just go through, because we,
Sure.
as a practical matter, do that.
so I could just include it all as part of the director's
Yeah,
report and then
just
say
include it
council
all.
action.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah. Because otherwise you look to me like,
Should I?
Shaylin, are you going to
yeah.
direct me to the next thing? And yes, the answer is yes. Okay, thank you very much, Corey. And moving to the last item on our agenda, we have 2 sets of minutes that we're approving. So let's start with the April 10th minutes, doing this as we normally do. Page by page, let me know if you have any corrections, starting with page 1.
Yeah, I just want to clarify one thing on line 38. Commissioner Daley wondered if the verbiage of condition 5 was clear enough, and then I would like to add to the rest of that sentence, to avoid confusion over different types of commercial transport trucks. Otherwise, that whole paragraph, you'd have to read the whole rest of the section to even figure out what we were talking about. And so that way we can kind of explain what we're doing, so.
Okay.
Thanks.
One small just thing on line 36, that needs to be an M dash. It looks like the word processor just didn't pick it up.
Needs to be a what dash?
M dash,
The double dash.
the double dash.
Okay.
But you know how it autocorrects to make, like it looks like in line 35,
Yeah,
so that they just,
okay.
yeah. Any other comments on page 1?
no.
Page 2.
Yeah, I had a question on page 2. So on line 3, we talk about this amendment to the commercial transport truck with an and or with capacity. But then down on line 18, number 5, it's just a with a capacity. What did we decide? And or just with?
With.
Okay.
I proposed my language and it was amended. The language that we voted on was not my language, so.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure. All right. And I don't have anything else.
Okay, anything else on page 2? Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. I had one small revision here. So looking at line 37, they also could present more than one plan to the city council. Take out the period there and add in to afford the city council options, planning options.
I'm wondering if I have a different version. I don't see that on line 37, is that what you said?
Yep, page 5.
Uh-huh.
So it starts contained within the staff report.
That does not start.
They also could, is that what
Okay.
anybody else's looks like?
That's what I've got.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's the paragraph that starts out, Chair Heyman liked the 5 vision areas
Okay.
that could be then fleshed out. So going through the next sentence reads as the same. They also could present more than one plan to the city council to afford the city council planning options, period. And then just take out the whole next line, the one that says rather that one very detailed plan, they could provide them with more than one more general idea. That was just really awkward.
Yes, it is.
So, anything else on page 5? Page 6. Page 7, on line 20, remove agreed that it would be very helpful to know if by, and replace it with questioned whether. So that sentence will read in its entirety, Chair Heyman questioned whether investing a relatively small amount in the area could result in considerably larger returns. Any other comments on page 7? Page 8, Chair will entertain a motion.
I hereby make a motion that we approve the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting on April 10th, 2019 as amended per our discussion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion or debate? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Great. Moving to the last set of minutes. These are from our work session on March 13th of 2019. We'll walk through the same process, starting with page 1.
Did we already do these?
That's what I thought
That's what
too.
I thought. Yeah, that's what we did
And
them
then they
last
went
time.
back to the council.
Oh, and then the council
Oh,
made
so now they were
changes.
coming back. I was gonna say, man, I started to feel like I was having deja vu. Okay.
So are you just looking at the one amendment on that
Is that the only
page?
thing that changed that was different, was that redlined on page 5?
And I think it should, I think it should say, Councilmember McEwen responded that he wished to encourage residential development, and then the period.
And Mackenzie told me today that yes, development should not have been stricken
Okay.
out, so I'll put that back in.
Okay. If that's the only change, then I will ask, does anyone have any questions or comments with regard to that one change on page 5? Any other questions or comments regarding anything else in this report? If not, the chair will entertain a motion.
I hereby make a motion to approve the planning commission work session meeting minutes from March 17th of 2019.
As amended.
Let's see, as presented with the period after development, is that right?
Yeah,
Because we didn't make any changes.
nope.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.